Okay, I don't even know where to start, but as you will see from the title of this video, I'm going to tell you about one of the darkest moments of my life recently, especially definitely since becoming a parent. So if you're new here, welcome. I like to make videos about mindset, creating that dream life. I want moms to feel supported because I have gone through periods of my life where I didn't feel supported. And I felt like I was doing this all on my own. I really struggled to accept help. And if that's you, then perhaps this video will help you. I hope it does. Sharing a bit about my story and how I overcame a very dark period in my life. My name is Julie, if we haven't met before, and I have two kids, age 5.5 and 3, and I'm pregnant with my third kind of surprise baby. And really I want to focus on when I had my second child, so my daughter, and also that 0 to 2.5, 3-year-old range of a child's life, because I found that to be really challenging. Really had to dig deep, so we'll get into it. So if you do like videos about personal development and improving your life so that your motherhood can be meaningful and not miserable, because mine was miserable for a long time, and I really wanted to make that shift to start to enjoy my children instead of resenting the situation that I was in, because I do believe that children are a gift, a blessing, and we bring them into our lives. They don't ask to be here. So anyway, let's get started. So basically a little bit of backstory. I remember this moment, and it was probably a series of moments, but I remember one very specifically, and I was in this room, and I don't know how old my daughter was. She was probably 3-4 months old, maybe. So there is a possibility that I was definitely my hormones and everything was still readjusting after birth. It still takes a few months. So I could have had some kind of postpartum depression. I was never formally diagnosed. I didn't go and seek psychological help for that. I think a large part of where I was struggling was just I didn't have any help at that time, like a nanny or babysitter or anything like that. I don't have any family nearby, not even remotely nearby. And my husband was working a ton and traveling a lot because that was the type of job that he had. And I had these two little kids. My son, I think, went to school 2 mornings a week. That was it. So the rest of the time it was me with both of these babies. My daughter was born late November, so if she was 3 or 4 months old, it was still kind of cold, and we'd gone through kind of winter, we were getting into spring, so it's kind of dark and depressing. So all of these factors kind of add in. I'm sure I wasn't sleeping that well. I think as a baby she slept pretty well, but she's still a baby. She still woke up. I exclusively breastfed her, so I made it challenging on all fronts in a way, which is just kind of part of my personality and my downfall. So anyway, so I remember this moment. My husband came home, and I always struggled because he would tell me he was going to come home at say 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, and that was always his intention, and his intention was always good. But then something would happen at 4:30 or 5:30. Someone would call him, or there'd be a crisis, or who knows, whatever it was, and he would get home later than what he had told me, or he was stuck on the train or something like that. And I remember he came home, and it was maybe 6:30, I have no idea. And I went into our bathroom, into the shower with no water on. I had all my clothes on, and I just sat there and just wanted to dissolve myself into the floor. I don't even remember if I was crying or not. Maybe I was, I don't know. But I just remember feeling I do not want to be here. I want to just remove myself from the situation, take away all these responsibilities. I've been with these little kids all day long on my own, and there's so many things that I could have done probably better, but whatever it was, I was in a very dark place where I didn't want to be there anymore. I don't think I wanted to die. I didn't want to be in my current life, so whatever that meant. And it was just a shocking, horrible, life-changing moment where I was just wow, I cannot live like this. I cannot give up on these little children, on myself. Something has to change. And I think that really was the start of me looking for answers and support and questioning my own beliefs and like, how do I help myself get out of this hole that I find myself in? And so I just want to talk about some of the strategies that I used to help me get to a much better place, so that if you're in this dark place or you have experienced it too, and I'm not someone who typically suffers from depression. I wasn't in need of like drugs or medication. It was more than that. It was like just the systems that I needed to set up for myself. But even more than that was the mindset shift. Because before the sleeping improves, before your body comes back, before your hormones settle down, it's like you have to make a decision as a parent to think positively, to understand that this will pass, to ask for help, to be vulnerable. And I had to learn these lessons the hard way. You know, I grew up with a framework of, you know, the undercurrent was like asking for help is kind of a weakness. You can't trust other people. They're in it for themselves. You kind of just expected to do everything yourself, and if you can't, then you know you're not good enough. There was elements of that in my upbringing, I guess, and in the society that I grew up in. Maybe a lot of it was self-imposed from me. You know, I'm definitely someone who talks about being like a recovering perfectionist, a people pleaser, you know, wanting to do things perfectly. And if there's one thing that children have taught me is good enough is good enough. Try your best, and you're going to make some mistakes, but they will always be back for you to, you know, cleanse yourself and try again and do better next time. And that's a great lesson that children teach us, you know, because they challenge us so deeply. And yeah, so some of the things that I started to do once I sort of shifted this mindset, you know, I read a lot of books, so I listened to a lot of books. That was really like my lifeline. Like I love listening to audiobooks. I started to take control of my space that I was in. So I really started kind of decluttering, and like I like organization and things to be simple as it is, but I really, you know, embraced that even more because this was something that I could control. And when literally the wheels fell off, at least if we had less things for me to look after and maintain, I could clean our house a little bit better. I remember feeling very happy or grateful that I lived in a small space because it didn't take that much to clean it. You know, it was easier to clean it, all this kind of stuff. And then I started to get like active help. I started to see a therapist, which I haven't really shared, definitely not publicly, but not with many people. And that was huge for me. I just felt like where I had always viewed therapy and kind of been told that you only go to a therapist if something is like really wrong, like someone's died, or you have like a psychological diagnosis. You know, like regular people like me who on the outside everything seems kind of fine, like you're functioning in life, you don't see therapists. But I knew that there was a lot of like trauma, wounds, you know, limiting beliefs, things inside myself that I wanted to overcome. And so I started to view therapy as something that would help me up level in my life. Just like if I wanted to work out, perhaps getting a personal trainer, or, you know, getting someone to help to teach me a new skill or something like that. I kind of viewed it from that perspective versus you are broken, you are weak, and you are, you know, seeing a therapist because something is wrong with you. Like, I don't see it like that anymore. I see it as a tool to improve myself. Plus, you know, it's kind of hypocritical for me to, you know, tout mindset shifts and healing and all this kind of stuff when I'm not prepared to do it myself. So I wanted to experience it firsthand. So that was a huge thing for me to even just go to, like, to do that. So I did that for a little bit. We got help through like a part-time babysitter, which eventually, because I knew I was going to go back to work, which was another whole thing, right? Going back to work after maternity leave is for me is very hard. But the idea was that I would have a part-time babysitter nanny, and then eventually she became a full-time nanny when I went back to work full-time. And, you know, accepting help was also, it's a hard pill to swallow, but I found myself in a situation with like no village, really. You know, it's hard because it's not like I don't have friends. Bad friends, but it's different from having, say, you know, like your mom or your sister or like a network of people. I didn't grow up here, so I tried to stop using that as an excuse because this was just my life, you know. So And my husband was also working, and I couldn't rely on him to be a caregiver. You know, it wasn't like we were both working from home, or one of us was, you know, he could help me. And even as a stay-at-home mom, like I still needed like a break, or I still needed some kind of support. And if it's not through family, you know, you need to pay for support, or, you know, get support. And so I started to shift my mindset around getting help, whether that's like someone to help you clean the apartment, or someone to help you to just take out the kids for a couple of hours, or allow you to have like date night with your spouse. So those were major breakthroughs for me. And then I also started to work out more and consistently, and I set myself up in a situation where, in order to work out, because that's not my natural tendency, let's be real, I had quite an expensive studio membership. I had a studio very close to where I lived, so I had like minimal excuses not to go. I would try and like enroll myself in challenges that they would have, so that I would have to go, and like I would use my competitive personality with myself to, you know, see like, oh, okay, I'm going to challenge myself. Can I go 3 times this week? Can I go 4 times this week? How can I really capitalize on all of these factors so that I can start working out? Because I think being stronger, physically healthier, all this kind of stuff helps me. And then just naturally with time and my kids growing older, you know, I really think that this 0 to 3 period, 0 to 3 years old, is very hard on the parents, especially new parents, and then transitioning from one child to the second one. You know, I also think you're only as strong as your youngest child. You know, they talk about that, like you're only as strong as the weakest link, or whatever it is. So you're only as strong as your youngest child sleeps. Whilst my daughter, I say, was probably just like a perfectly normal sleeper, she still woke up a lot, and she was a breastfed baby. So she, you know, she needed me, and I was the only one, and it was very tough. And we sort of tried sleep training because we were so desperate, and sort of worked, but not really. But like I hated every second of it. It's not my vibe. And it was just very hard. I just really felt like I was trying to fit my daughter into my work schedule and all this kind of stuff. Needless to say, as time passed, as she grew older, as her sleeping patterns improved and we were getting more sleep, that definitely made a difference. As my body healed after birth and all this kind of stuff, that made a difference, and my hormones settled down and normalized. That made a difference. As I started to implement help and surround myself with positive influences, whether that's like online, on Instagram, on through books and personal development and listening, through a therapist, through positivity in my friends and community, and just changing my mindset of this is a season that is hard, but you can do this step by step. Really simplifying my life, which is a lot about what my channel is about. And I used organization as the tool to help me get back a bit of control, because I felt so helpless so much of the time. I felt so desperate with these children screaming, or like breaking things, or not wanting to eat, or not wanting to get dressed, and just feeling like so lonely, you know, because I was alone a lot of the time with them because my husband was working. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it doesn't mean it's easy, you know. So just really shifting how I viewed this and understanding how quickly time goes by, even though it's still hard. Giving myself that space to just kind of wallow for a little bit and then move on, and simplifying really changed things for me. So if this is anything that you can relate to, or you've experienced this, or you are going through this, honestly, I understand and I feel you. And I want you to know that there is support out there if you go look for it in the right places. There are really positive YouTube channels if you want to connect with people in that way. There are courses that you can take and support groups that you can join. Try and not fill your mind with garbage. Try and not fill your mind with negativity or people complaining about how hard parenting is. Yes, you want to be around people that understand your journey and the difficulties, but that doesn't mean that you have to focus on the negativity around it. We must remember, and I remind myself of this, or I try, at least probably most of you that are watching this, the decision, and I hope this is true, the decision to have a child is your choice. I hope you're not being forced to have a child. And I know in some cultures and societies that is still going on, and that's kind of where we have inherited from. But you have chosen to have a child or children. Never mind that there are so many people that cannot have children that would kill to be in your position. But these children did not ask to be here. You know, there is no reason for them to be here besides your desire to have them, my desire to have them. I'm about to have a third one. I mean, you know, I just think of it like we don't have children for a purpose anymore, like a practical purpose. Like we don't work on farms where we need to increase populations. I know in some countries and societies, you know, and especially some religions, the goal is to have multiple children. And I hope that's not you if that's not what you want, right? I hope you are able to have the amount of children that you desire. But these children are here for the sole purpose of your need for them, your biological need for them. And it's not their fault if things are hard around you. You know, they didn't ask to be born. And so you kind of owe it to them to get the tools and help and support that you need so that you can show up for them in the way that they deserve and that you can be proud of as a parent. So I want to create a community of women and families where we are not complaining all the time, where we are living in a positive light, where we are living in a non-judgmental, supportive place, so that our children can grow up feeling truly emotionally nourished, feeling like they can do good in the world as well. So really, that's what I needed to say today. If you do need any more resources or any more support, I have a Facebook group. You can follow me on Instagram. I have a free mini course that you can sign up for, and then when I send out newsletters and things, which is not that often, I'm not going to spam you, or if I come up with new courses and things, you can be notified of that. I also have a signature program that I poured my heart and soul into called The Organized Mom, which really goes into this idea of mindset as a mother, but also using your environment and your organizational approaches to simplify your life so you can focus on important things like developing relationships with your family, with your children, being present, not being, you know, stuck under mountains of stuff that cause you a lot of stress and anxiety, so that you know, cannot like focus on what's really important to you and your family. So I hope you'll check those out. Thank you so much for listening to my little my little journey. I hope you got some value in it, and I can't wait to see you in my next video. Bye.